We're live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Policy and Projects Committee of the Athens in Motion Commission. And here is our agenda today. I do want to draw the committee's attention to our end time today, 5:20, so we will be concluding a bit early. Teresa and I have another meeting right after this one because we are all about transportation committee meetings. So we'll take a look at the agenda, and we have our minutes from February, and Teresa put these together. And we thank Teresa. And we'll be continuing with a lot of this discussion today on bike ordinances. And thank you for that note, Teresa, about we'll continue at number 30 on our spreadsheet, reviewing bike ordinances. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If there are none, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our last Policy and Projects Committee meeting on February 9th.
So moved, if I can do that.
Yes. Can I get a second?
Yep, second it.
All right, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Okay, our next order of business is I need someone to volunteer to take minutes for this meeting.
I can do it.
Oh, okay. I was going to say I'll do it again since I love doing minutes so much, but if someone else wants to do it, that's awesome.
I don't mind doing it, Lauren. I actually already have kind of started.
Oh,
For
thank
this.
you, Blaine.
Thanks, Blaine.
Yay.
You're the
No
man.
problem.
Matt.
Wonderful. Okay. So where we last left off with the complete streets presentation that we are going to give is Aaron had put something together, and then Lauren was going to work on the visuals for it, and I have not gotten around to doing that yet, and so I apologize for that to the committee. So I will get on that as soon as I can. So there's no update there. So that will give us extra time to dive back into bike lane ordinances that we were reviewing. And this is the same spreadsheet that we have been looking at together, the priorities ranking. Again, that Cole Scott, who's with us, had gone through various college towns and taken a look at what ordinances they have, and linked to municipal code. And then we kind of did a first review over it and have established our priorities. And then we have been going through each of these line by line to determine like what we think is a priority, what we have further questions on. And so this is great because it allows us to maybe not reinvent the wheel, or, cherry pick the ordinances we want for ourselves, or maybe make some changes to our own ordinances. So we left off at number 30. And yeah, we have not looked at this one. Okay. And this is operator must wear clothing or vest visible from 300 feet. And this is generally a lower priority. I'm interested to hear the thoughts of maybe Daniel and Mark about this. And I see that John Devine had some comments, and Taylor, you had one as well about the lights being sufficient. Discussion?
I think I had it as a, did I put it as a 4?
I
That's
think
a
so.
mistake.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
got it backwards.
Yeah.
Maybe like a 2.
I don't,
But-
yeah, maybe make it a 2 because, yeah, I mean, I wear the bright clothing most of the time, but a lot of
Mhm.
people commuting to work aren't going to want to wear a yellow bike jersey, right?
Yeah.
So, no, I think lights are plenty. Sorry about that. Sorry, I screwed up.
I do as well. Just another barrier to cycling. People think, oh, well, I forgot my orange vest, so I guess I can't go out and go cycling today. And yeah, we don't require cars, except for have their lights on. So they can be black, they can be dark green, whatever. So I think we shouldn't put unnecessary requirements on cyclists.
Yeah, I think gonna make mine a 2. I'm not sure why it's a 4.
I think it's a good idea, but doesn't mean it should be required.
It's good practice, but yeah, I don't think it should be required.
All right. That one's easy. So next, kind of higher up on the list, procedure for passing a bicyclist. I'm sorry, I'm going to move you guys. So we have some Georgia laws related to this. I kind of want to, let me see, can I fix this? And John Devine states that the state law has this covered pretty well. And Taylor, you noted that some education is necessary. And that's absolutely true.
I thought I had rated it, but I guess I hadn't. But yeah, I would rate this a super low priority because there's a state law covering it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I think my 5 is just like, hey, I'm in favor of this in general, but
Yeah, right.
yeah,
That's
it's
I was
covered by
not
state.
interpreting it.
So
Yeah, I was interpreting it as in general. I
That's
think
where
it's a
I
good
come
idea.
down, I mean, if we've got it covered, we got it covered, but it's super important and education is critical because I don't think a lot of drivers are really aware of that.
yeah, like I've been using, like, if it's one that we have in policy and we put a 1 on it, then to me that's like, how can we undo this, basically? So, but not that it is, I guess it's not really phrased that way, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think we're good there.
So
I guess we should just establish, like, for some of these, like, are we rating it as priority or are we rating it as I agree with this state?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
mhm. We're good as far as ordinance goes, but need education. Sound right?
Mhm.
Okay. And I'm on my small screen, so I can't see all your faces, so it's helpful to have a verbal confirmation. So no, the next item, prohibit shareable dockless mobility devices, which we are quite familiar with. And so this came up when venture capitalists deposited a bunch of scooters upon UGA specifically. And, I think what we decided was that the dockless was the problem. But
Didn't
people,
the mayor and commission put
Go
a
ahead.
ban on them or something?
I thought it was UGA. They started collecting them. I don't know if Athens-Clarke County did. Is that right?
I think that they were banned.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, they
There
were
was a
dumped on the
moratorium.
sidewalks and it was a hazard and a nuisance.
I can confirm it. We wrote some rules on UGA's campus that prohibit them, specifically those type of mobile scooters or motorized scooters. And you're right on point there that dockless was the key. Without a docking station, there was very little regulation to them and nobody accepting any way to regulate them. So
Mhm.
that's from the university standpoint, that's where we came from, and we prohibited them, and we did collect them and kind of ban them from campus.
In theory, it sounds like a great idea, but in practice, it's a mess.
It's exactly what it was, Aaron. They dumped them and left, and we were kind of dealing with it. We do, I say we're prohibited on campus. I see a few students from here now and then riding around on them, and it's not a problem. They kind of,
Right.
they're respectful of them, and they're putting them near bike racks, and they're not blocking anything, and it works out okay. We kind of leave those alone, but it was just the mass dump and go where we had the issue.
Has anybody
And
else
people,
approached UGA about doing the same thing or tried to get formal permission or arrangements?
Okay, a new vendor, Mark?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, not since then. And it was one of the big ones. I know there's a few other ones, but it's kind of, when you search around, it's the same issue that they had all over other campuses and cities across the country. But no, nobody's reached back out about that.
They're pretty dangerous. I actually rode one in La Jolla last year. And I did not feel safe at all. And I feel like, people want to ride their own scooters that they've paid for. That should be fine. I think what happened with the dockless is that nobody had an investment in them, so they just treat them like trash.
Yeah, we can spend a lot of time talking about this. I think that micromobility has a lot of options, a lot of potential. But we just, want we don't want companies coming in and acting like they didn't know any better. We want folks to work with us. So let's see. We already have a law here. I don't think we want to change that. Let me share my screen. Sorry about that. Do we feel like we're good as far as ordinances go?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Prohibit stopping in a bike lane. Ooh, look at this number here. Why did the chair only
Lauren.
give that a 4? Maybe I felt like there were some safety items that were
Dragging down the average again.
Yeah. So high priority. I don't think we need any further discussion.
Yeah, I have it drafted up with the attorney's office, and I just need to get some time to put together the agenda item.
does that include parking in a bike lane too?
Yes.
Like not just like stop and drop. Okay.
Yeah, so let me pull up our draft version if you're interested.
Yeah. I will stop sharing my screen.
So this is not like approved in any way. We still have to run it through the mayor and commission, but I'm trying to share it, but I need to zoom in a little bit. There we go. I'm curious to get your feedback on it as well. All right, do you see the Microsoft Word document?
It's a little, there it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can make that bigger. I know we can zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, there we go. All right. So we basically define bicycle lane and bicycle path. So bicycle lane is a portion of the roadway that has been designated by striping, pavement markings, or signage for the exclusive or preferential use of persons operating bicycles and electric assisted bicycles. And I think this is where we have maybe defined these in other places. And so we're highlighting the definitions that apply to this ordinance. Bicycle path means a right-of-way under jurisdiction and control of the state or local political subdivision thereof designated for use by bicycle and electric assisted bicycle riders. And it basically just says it shall be unlawful for any vehicle or motorcycle or any other motorized vehicle to be parked on or within any part of a bicycle lane or bicycle path, nor shall any such vehicle block, temporarily stop, or be parked in front of or adjacent to any bicycle lane or bicycle path so as to block access to the bicycle lane or bicycle path.
It's great too for the temporarily stop. A big issue is people pulling out, especially in traffic, into already congested road, and they block the bike lane, and then all of a sudden you have nowhere to go as a cyclist.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess that would be block, temporarily stop,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And as far as like parklets blocking the bike lane, that's covered in the parklet ordinance, so we don't need to highlight that here.
Now,
Any, yeah.
when some like, what is the enforcement mechanism for these? Like, do they write a ticket for $25? Is that like implied by the ordinance, or does that have to be something that's in there too?
I think it depends on the location, right? So technically, I think in downtown, you're only allowed to park within designated areas. So they could write tickets right now, but I don't know that they'll enforce it freely. I don't know if they require like reporting it or something, but yeah, if basically this would allow, because ADDA, I think, or someone, I don't know who, but the parking enforcement services downtown, they handle that, but this would also be anywhere else in Athens-Clarke County. So, and that would be police, and they could write a ticket.
So I
So
think
the ordinance doesn't have to state like what the ticket amount is or anything. Like, the police have their own. That's a separate thing from what the ordinance says.
I believe so.
Okay.
I think this is basically just establishing that it's unlawful to do this. And so that way, and then from there, I think there's probably separate maybe policy or list of things from PD and how much those cost. It could even be a situation where it can be towed if it's blocking. But I don't know what the penalty would be. This is just kind of establishing the legality of it.
Okay.
Okay, so hazard lights. It seems like when we turn on the hazard lights in our vehicle, we can do anything because we're just there temporarily. Is that true? Is that a misconception people have about like, oh, if I turn on my hazard lights, I'm allowed to be in the middle of the road, or it's okay for me to be in this bike lane? How does that work?
I mean, I think if a car is broken down and it is blocking a bike lane, I don't know. I don't think that would be considered like an intentional thing. It's kind of like
Right.
when there's a crash or when your car breaks down and it blocks the road, you're not going to suddenly get ticketed for that. Like the police, if they're around, they will help you get it, to a safer spot. But that's what hazard lights are supposed to be used for. Now, in terms of just I'm gonna hop out and run into the store real quick, that's still illegal. You can't do that in roads, even though people do it. Now there are some areas like I'm sure we're all familiar with Prince Avenue, where the beer delivery or food delivery trucks are in that middle lane, and that's where they deliver. I believe that is something that is okay for them to do. Just that's the only delivery location that they can really get access to. So that in that case, I think there's probably something that, and this is just, I'm assuming all of this,
I think that's right.
that it would be okay, and that's written somewhere in the ordinance saying that for deliveries and stuff like that. But this one specifically says any vehicle block, temporarily stop, like it's unlawful in any case. And so I don't know if we need to go into more detail about all the different situations that could lead you to stop and block a bike lane. But I'll probably get some feedback from PD on this
Yeah.
as well as we develop it.
So this these laws, they do apply to, they're not just our roads that we own for maintenance, right? This would apply to like UGA roads and stuff too, correct?
This applies to bicycle lanes and bicycle paths only.
Mm-hmm.
So, if it is considered a bicycle lane or bicycle path, I assume
think
this is only within the right of way.
But I think she's asking like, would this apply to UGA roads on campus too? If there's those that have bike lanes and whatnot, or is this just Athens-Clarke County?
I mean, UGA roads are still, I'm pretty sure, most of the roads that go through campus, like Lumpkin, those are still county roads. There's very few that are UGA roads. I think those would be the ones with gates. And Blaine, what do you think? Do you think an ordinance like this covers?
I think it covers, yeah, Athens-Clarke County, roads and the many that go through campus. Like specifically, like, if you're thinking Lumpkin or, those, I would think this could be in play for those.
Right. And to be clear, like if there's like a road that is specifically like a UGA like drive for like maintenance access and stuff, and there's maintenance vehicles blocking it, even if it, now if it was like if it had a bike lane that they were blocking, I don't know even then what it would, constitute, because that is more of a maintenance drive. And I don't know of any situations like that where there are bike lanes that aren't within the public right of way.
Agreed. Just on campus, I don't think we have anything like that.
Yeah. So yes, those should be covered.
Okay. I'm curious about that. Sometimes I get rides to campus to and from. And we've definitely been yelled at for unloading in the bus stop. So don't do that anymore. So then the person who was picking me up was on Hull Street, right? So next to Terry. And he was like, "Yeah, I guess we're not supposed to block the bike lane." I'm like, "Yeah, we're not. We're probably not supposed to, and I can't be seen with you doing this."
Leave me.
Where I've seen it be a bigger issue is up on Lumpkin. As you're going up the hill on Lumpkin, you're toward downtown. There's a lot of students getting dropping off near the Miller Learning Center, and that's a bike lane, and it's an uphill, so it kind of forces you out into traffic.
Yeah, a caveat here that we haven't really talked about is buses. Because a lot of buses will pull into the bike lane to unload at the bus stop. And doing so would temporarily block that bike lane. So I might just,
Yeah. Let's put that in there about public transportation. So not private
Uber or
shuttles
Lyft. Yeah.
owned by an apartment complex, right? I don't know. I remember there was an issue about that for a while. Those private shuttles. I think I did do a story about that as a student journalist.
I mean, the other option here is that if those not every bus stop has this, but if there's a bike lane and there's a bus stop, then there are kind of like raised speed table bike lane situations where the bus can still make accessible kind of drop-offs without pulling into the lane. It's primarily for if it's like protected and there's a curb in the way and the bus can't get into the bike lane. But that was one that I've seen from Zikla. Vectorial is like, Zikla is a company that makes temporary infrastructure, and Vectorial is like one of their types of barriers. So we're getting into the weeds on this. So if y'all are good with any
Yeah.
other ideas that might need to be considered here.
Like so many things are left up to officer discretion, and I think just need more enforcement.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Daniel. Yay, our first ordinance in the works. On to the next one, and this one is especially relevant this week: promotion of a zero biking fatality plan. And Daniel, you note that we're really hoping to have a Vision Zero specialist on staff someday soon. Of course, we lost someone biking just in the past week on Tallahassee Road due to a drunk driver. And I think currently we don't have any laws about promotion of a zero biking fatality plan. So let me see, what were we talking about here? So Cambridge has this. What does this look like? Wow.
So basically just have an ordinance that says we will use our Vision Zero plan.
Mhm.
I guess so.
Cool.
Yeah, that might just be the ordinance that's specifically in the cycling safety section, and they might have like a broader Vision Zero plan somewhere else.
Right. Daniel, what do you think about codifying this through an ordinance?
I think we would need to have a Vision Zero plan first.
Okay.
But yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay. And we all say that's a priority. All right, next one is require bike to have lighted lamp on front and mirror and mirror on rear. So Georgia law requires us to have a light on the front when we're doing that.
What about a reflector? Doesn't everybody's bike have a reflector on
Yes.
the back fender?
You're supposed to have at minimum like a red reflector on the back.
Yeah, that might just be what that meant.
Yeah, that's what that meant.
Georgia requires
Go
right,
ahead.
Georgia requires a light on front and rear, correct? If you're driving at night, is it just
Front.
Just front.
Yeah, if we already have a Georgia law, and I think if the reflector is required, yeah, I don't think we need anything done there.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll just leave that then. Okay. This is an interesting one. Required to report bike exchanges and sales. I don't think anyone found this to be a priority.
Heck no, that's the synopsis I'm seeing.
You don't have to in Georgia with guns, so certainly not with
I mean,
bicycles.
yeah, let's remember where we are.
It's easier to buy a gun than vote.
It's easier to buy a gun than anything.
Yeah. There was I got that from the AJC. Someone wrote an opinion piece on that a while back. Okay. Restrictions to bicycles on sidewalks. So this kind of ended up middle of the road, only where bicycle facilities are present and in urban zones. I don't know who said that. I don't know if that was John. Already covered. Biking on sidewalk is dangerous.
We all know it's very dangerous for pedestrians and well, and also for just dangerous for cyclists because I know cars aren't expecting cyclists to be on sidewalks. So when you pull up to an intersection, I've been driving and almost had collisions with cyclists who was coming at a high rate of speed, and you're looking at for oncoming course pedestrians, but something coming high speed you're not expecting in the sidewalk. So that's a big issue for cyclist safety.
Mhm.
The roller skate, rollerblade, skateboard, that's all very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's saying just within the public sidewalk located within downtown tax district. Got it. Of any age.
I don't love that, honestly. I mean, where are people supposed to be? Like I could see
Not in downtown, apparently.
yeah. I mean, I could see like skateboarding if on a bike lane, if there's a bike lane or rollerblading there, I guess. But um in the road, like forcing them on the road when there's no facilities is kind of rough.
Well, and if I mean, it's really only so it looks like all of this is only applying to, well, number one, in A, it's applying to the downtown tax district. B is applying to any zoning district where the door of an adjacent building opens directly onto sidewalk.
D is very confusing too. It's saying any person who's riding a bicycle on the sidewalk shall yield to any pedestrian, but if you're an adult, you're not supposed to be riding on the sidewalk anyway. So that seems
Well, so I think what they're saying is any person under 12
okay.
needs to yield
What are
to
they
a
gonna do?
pedestrian.
Give a ticket to a 10-year-old?
I mean, these are like ordinances, but that doesn't mean that like they enforce it necessarily.
Right.
So I like the yielding because then at least if you are on the sidewalk and breaking the ordinance, there's at least kind of, I don't know. I mean, no one's checking through these ordinances to see if they can yield or not, but I don't think there's anything to really do here to this ordinance unless you wanted to fight with ADDA.
I don't think anybody wants to do that.
Yeah. I do want people to have options, and I don't love the way that skateboarding and people like on rollerblades has been like demonized or something like that. I'm like, people are just getting around. They're not using any gas, and that's great. So I don't love the restrictions for those modes of transportation.
I think it goes a little too far personally, but I ride on those rare occasions when I ride a bicycle. I mean, I'm often on a sidewalk because the road is just not safe. But I'm nice. I always stop when somebody's coming.
I think this kind of law serves two purposes. One is that if you're an adult biking at any sort of speed, like above 6 miles an hour, which is about as slow as I can bike, then you're potentially putting yourself in harm's way because cars cannot see you. They're not expecting to see you in the ingress and egress, like of driveways in particular, which multi-use paths can have the same problems. Just because they're wider and they're called a multi-use path doesn't mean they don't present the same issues as biking on a sidewalk. That's why you have to strategically put them in and remove all the excess driveways, right? And then the other purpose is to validate bikes being on the road, right? Like, bikes belong here because they're not allowed on the sidewalk.
Because they're a vehicle.
Because they're a vehicle. Thank you, Aaron. That's exactly right. And this is just something I don't want to ticket people for, because people always, they have a perception that they're safer and we know it's not true, but I kind of feel like we're victim blaming a bit here when we ticket people. And I was talking with Daniel yesterday, I was biking and I did something I never do. And I biked on the sidewalk because traffic was so backed up at Millage and Baxter that I couldn't turn in. And I just sat there through lights and I just decided to remove myself from the equation. There was nowhere to go.
Lauren, when you mentioned not ticketing people, I mean, could it be something where there's no kind of monetary fine, where it was like a warning, or could possibly we use it as an educational? I don't know if who's going to ticket, if it's the police department, are they really going to pull somebody over on a bicycle and say, hey, let me educate you on the rules? Or by that point, are they just say, hey, let me give you a ticket because I've spent my time doing this?
Yeah, that's a great question.
You don't have to carry a driver's license while you're riding a bicycle.
Yeah, very true.
I mean, what are they going to do?
Well, you don't have to
Let's
have a
just make
driver's
a
license if you're
note.
drinking in public, too. Like, you can still
Yeah.
get a ticket for.
Let's make a note to get more information on that aspect of it, because I think this is just the ordinance which talks about legality, and if we're gonna, I think we should focus on getting through the rest of this list if we can. Because how late are we going?
Few more minutes, 5:20, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah,
Okay.
that'll be something we can come back to for discussion.
I have that note here. What are the fines? Let's get info. Right. Traffic ordinances apply to bikes. And the comment we have here, and I guess I wasn't sure about this one myself, is that John Devine felt like it should be removed entirely. Is this the kind of thing where like a bike is a vehicle? Let's see what do we have here?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
But a bike is not usually a lethal weapon, whereas a car or a pickup truck or a bus can be.
Here.
However, we say, same road, same rules, same rights, and I mean, we want to be considered a vehicle when it's good for us. I mean, shouldn't this pertain to the laws of the road too?
I mean, I think everybody who's riding around should be riding responsibly. I totally do, and that shouldn't be confusing the drivers or creating scary situations for them. You should use your little turn signals and,
Well, I'd be in favor of this as long as we could get an Idaho stop or whatever it's called.
Right, because we can't trip the light like a car can. So
yeah, we can't trip the light. And there, frankly, plenty of times I'm going downhill on Boulevard and I see there's no one at those stop signs. I'm sorry, folks. That's
exactly.
Momentum is a precious thing on a bicycle.
I think the Idaho stop sign is a great idea, or whatever it is, Idaho stop. Yeah.
We
Is
almost
that on our list of potential ordinances?
Yeah.
I think it's superseded by state, isn't it? Like, didn't we talk about that? Like, there was a proposal, and I think it went through both houses, but vetoed by Governor Deal, that we could do that. Because I thought we'd get into legal issues if we did this in Athens and not.
Okay, sorry.
Basically,
No.
any like state, it's all at the state level. All the Idaho stop laws are all at the state level.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, the concern there would be if we have it okay here, but then like you can go from one town to another and it's just very confusing for residents.
Yeah, it should be the same here as in Watkinsville, for example.
Yeah. All right. And my interpretation of John's comment for I think this should be removed entirely is just removing it from this list. I don't think he means removed from the books, but
Okay.
that was my interpretation.
Okay. Yeah, that makes
I
more
agree.
sense.
So
Alright.
yeah, that
Maybe
next one.
we can do like one more. Oh,
Tour service doesn't apply to us. I think that's just in one specific
Yeah, that's
place.
just for Savannah.
The bike with removed identification, I think, has more to do with like what do you call it? Bike
Serial number?
registration.
Numbers.
Yeah, serial numbers. So that's going to be a no because we don't have that.
Yeah, it's more of a theft issue than a safety issue.
No one's interested in the impound bikes. I think that's really difficult to also do. And zoning dependent ordinances. That one was just, I think that's kind of open-ended, but Cole, did you want to talk about that one at all?
Yeah, so a lot of like the cities have like different like bike laws based on like where it is, like downtown, or like if it's in like a park area, they have like different laws. So that's like the zoning dependent ordinances.
Yeah. So that's not necessarily something where we would say we want more zoning dependent ordinances. It's more like as we talk about these bike laws and how they apply to different areas, it just that might be a mechanism to do that. What was that last one? Bicycle lane priority for cyclists. Yeah, let's just say check it out. What do y'all think?
Yeah.
All right.
what is this? A priority over what?
Walkers
Everyone
maybe?
else. Yeah. I assume
Walkers,
like
restaurant seating.
yeah, or I'm assuming like I don't know, like with scooters
Hmm.
or like is that
Yeah,
what
that's not
y'all had in
one of
mind?
mine. I don't that wasn't one
Yeah.
of my codes, but that's what I assumed it was like over like scooters and stuff.
Did we
Maybe
ever talk?
it's
Go ahead.
sorry, like non-electric, human powered transportation has right of way or has priority.
Which is interesting because I guess like I'm thinking if it's electric, it's probably gonna get up and out of the way of your human powered.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah.
it maybe in the same way that bikes yield to pedestrians on multi-use paths,
Oh,
like people in electric vehicles would yield to people who are using their own human power.
Or like going uphill, those electric vehicles are gonna go a lot faster than the bikes. So
Yes.
they could like zoom right past them.
oh, so you're just saying the e-bike needs to not pass the regular.
Well, I don't know. I think what does yielding to mean? Like what does it because
Mhm.
when we're on a multi-use path and we yield to pedestrians,
But they're usually coming towards you. I think even with that, like, yeah, it's. I was curious about that one too, because like if I'm on a bike, which this weekend I was, and pedestrians were across the entire greenway, does that mean I just have to stop and wait for them to pass by? Like,
Right.
because I know like typically if you're a cyclist on the greenway, you say on your left as you go to pass other people. And so I guess that is also you yielding kind of by moving out of like getting over and not asking them to move off the trail. So maybe that's what that means.
What's it like in Europe, Mark? I mean, are there
People know how to walk. They know how to walk. A skill we've sadly lost in this country. I mean, people know to generally stay to the one side of the path or the other. I think that's part of it. People just don't know, and they're not used to being around as many bikes, or they're not used to riding bikes themselves. A whole host of things. I mean, I do think it's nice where the Greenway has put a dotted line down the middle. I think if we could, put some arrows or, directional indicators or something, just so people learn I'm supposed to walk on the right and bike on the right, it would be nice. But
I've
With
noticed that in
that,
some places, like, and my wife is from New England. She talks about this a lot, where like on multi-use paths, uh, in a lot of places they say that you should walk on the left and bike on the right, so that the pedestrian is able to face the cyclist. And so in some of those multi-use paths, I've seen that like striping and the signage saying that. I think it's good in some situations, but also it just adds another layer of like confusion where like
well, yeah, when you're on a
different people think
roadway,
they're
you're
doing the
supposed
right
to
thing.
walk on the left. You're supposed to walk facing traffic and bike with traffic on a roadway. So most multi-use paths I've seen kind of push everybody to the same side. But I agree, as long as people are consistent and predictable, that's what you want. I don't know what the right answer is, but
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, on the Fred Pinellas Trail, which is a suburban trail in Florida, it seems like at one point they did try to divide out the multi-use path for like, here's the area for cyclists, and here's the area, or here's the area for people cycling, and here's the area for people walking. But it seemed like that had fallen by the wayside, and that they had actually removed some of the paint. It was just kind of showing through. So maybe that, I don't know how useful that was. So it seems like we have some questions here. I do like the double dash line. I think that that's pretty easy to understand. And this, it's just that some sections of our trail, like the Greenway, the North Oconee River Greenway, that section, it's 10 feet, it's smaller, and there's not the lines on it because it's just a narrower path. And I think people
also it's just older and they didn't do it then.
Yeah.
Because I
the
Yeah.
new part does have it. The new part that goes up to North Avenue does have it.
I think it's worth asking at the next Athens in Motion meeting, asking that question to Todd to see what it would take to get striping put on all segments of the greenway so that it's standard across the board. Because they might be able to have some funding for it, or maybe it wouldn't be that expensive, and it could be like
Firefly's
some
done
sort
it.
of
Firefly's done it, but their striping is already wearing off in places.
right.
I think we should also like ask ourselves sometimes, like, it's easy to get caught up in like all the what if situations, and like try to write an ordinance that would address every situation, when sometimes we really just need to, like, I think maybe like focus on like what the actual most likely problems are, and not get sidetracked on like, because it's really easy to kind of be like, oh well, what about if this happens, and in this narrow situation this happens, and trying to cover it all. um, I think it's easy to lose sight of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Taylor. You're exactly right. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, we are over, and I have another meeting in a couple of minutes. But we've made it through all the ordinances. And Daniel, thank you for working with the attorney's office on our first ordinance about blocking bike lanes. That's going to be great. And maybe we can start thinking about how we will educate people about that on Athens in Motion as a whole commission. I know the education committee has their hands full with some stuff right now, but maybe we can fit that in. And I will move forward with our Complete Streets presentation. And I'm sorry that I had not made any progress on that for y'all. So,
Let me know if I can help.
Okay, you've been busy. You've been busy.
right. And thanks again to Cole for like compiling all those ordinances. Like that's really been tremendously helpful. I'm very excited to have us codify some of this stuff. So Cole, thank you so much. And thanks for like continuing to be in our committee meetings.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right, y'all have a good night.
Bye.
Yeah.
Good night.
We meet again.